term junzi for a man of superior social status, which Confucius had transformed into a term for a man of superior ethical quality, would seek to befriend other gentlemen in his own village and state, and even the whole empire, but also in history itself. Menzu is reminding us that we can find friends from whom we can learn all the way into the deep past. Eric Hobsbawm has suggested that the acceleration of cultural change in our most recent past has threatened to cut us loose from history altogether. Snapping the links between generations, that is to say, between past and present. That would threaten the entire project to which I have just shown Mann, Hegel, and Menzu contributing, and call into question who we are as humans or where we want to go. No past, no future. It's that simple. One might also say no present either. Cultural vacuum. Not likely, but even a threat of such a thing has to be taken seriously and has been countered of late by the call for deep or big history. David Christian's Maps of Time, An Introduction to Big History, and Daniel Lord Smail's On Deep History and the Brain may be taken as signs of the time. What Christian and Smail do is link us back to our history as a species, one species among many, all of which are our relatives right back to the unicellular organisms of 3.5 billion years ago. And Christian goes even further than that, starting with the Big Bang of 13.5 billion years ago and ending with a universe that will have decayed into a state of featureless equilibrium billions of years hence. Both Christian and Smail are historians, and both recognize that they are breaking rather strong taboos in their profession, rejecting the established view that history begins with texts and so is only about 5,000 years old, and that anything else before that is to be left to biologists and anthropologists. I follow them rather modestly, confining my concern to one subject area, religion, though in pre-modern societies that is quite an inclusive category, and to our own species, with only a glance into our biological ancestry, and ending not with the present, but with the first millennium BCE, for reasons I will explain later. One thing that both Smail and Christian take for granted, with which I very much agree, is that history goes all the way back, and any distinction between history and prehistory is arbitrary. That means that biological history, that is, evolution, is part of the human story all the way through, though quite a long time ago it gave rise to culture and has co-evolved with it ever since. That will inevitably raise questions that I can deal with at length only in Chapter 2, which is devoted to religion in the context of human evolution, but that I must address briefly right from the start. Mann, in his prologue to Joseph and His Brothers, was especially frightened of falling in the bottomless well into the pre-human vortex of evolution. He need not have been. Even though he wrote that book from 1926 to 1942, before the great advances in evolutionary theory that have occurred since the mid-20th century, there was still enough available for him, if he had the time, to find that he had many friends among non-human organisms. It was known then, for example, that the atmosphere of the Earth, with its plentiful supply of oxygen, was not present in the early years of our solar system, and that it developed only because unicellular organisms in the primeval sea had discovered how to use photosynthesis to feed themselves, thus producing a surplus of oxygen that, over the course of 1 billion years or so, created an atmosphere in which multicellular life, plants, animals, and others, could begin to inhabit the land masses that previously had been barren rocks. A little vote of thanks to these tiny microscopic creatures, without whom nothing presently existing on dry land would be here, might have been fearlessly offered. Most worrisome to many who fear the merging of evolution and history is the belief that they are based on two incompatible methodologies. Evolution is natural science, rigidly deterministic and reductionist, allowing no freedom or creativity, whereas history is a humanistic study in which human freedom is at the center, in both its marvelous creativity and its terrifying violence. Grim determinism is not missing in some forms of neo-Darwinism, might I say the fundamentalist forms, in which the subject of evolution is